Alright, you already know who I am, so no need to go into formalities. But we're on this 39th video right now. And let me just kick this off. You know, when you see this picture in the background, that means I'm on a strict time limit in this reality before I have to jump into something else. So let's get right into this program. Alright, check it out. I'm about to hit y'all with something real heavy and deep right now. A while back, I was in one of my deep meditations. This was, I don't know, could have been, I don't remember when, maybe a few years ago or something. But I noticed something came up. Could have been about a year ago or something. I don't know, I don't remember. I've started to completely, I have no concept of time anymore, because it's not even real. But anyway, in one of my meditations, I noticed one time that when I was on a real deep meditation, I ended up in a place, and it kind of threw me for a minute because it seemed like a tribe. Could have been Africa or somewhere, but I was in a circle, and in this circle there were people around. There was a fire, but I was in the center where the fire should have been at, and I manifested in front of these people who were sitting around. And at that time, they seemed a bit, I don't want to say like tribal, but yeah, it could have been like that. They seem a bit like something in a tribe a very long time ago. Perhaps something going on in another reality where they're still in that level of development with their consciousness. And basically, it was as if they summoned me in one of their rituals. So, you know how we have a culture in ancient times and other civilizations where people would sit around a fire, tell stories, and perform magical rituals and do summonings and speak to the ancestors. And this what brought me up with this realization that time is continuous, so there's no linear time. All time is happening now. So we have to realize that from the perspective of so-called ancient civilizations that existed, just say thousands of years ago, if you want to think in those terms, we would be the equivalent of the gods from their perspective. You see what I'm saying? Because if they were in a time where there's like no electricity and, very, I'm not going to say limited because they weren't, they were able to do things that we couldn't do now. Well, not me, but a lot of people. And from that perspective, if they were able to view into our moment point right now where we're at, we would seem like the future to them, and we would seem like these all-powerful gods. And this is what happened a lot during time, the concept of time. A lot of people would tap into other realities and get into contact with other forces. A lot of times, these forces were no different than what we are. Simply try to explain this. I don't want to lose anybody. During those time frames with those people, wherever they were at, they were going into their deep channeling trance states, deep meditations, and they would basically pull back the veil. And since time is not real, they would transcend all time and space and get glimpses of what was happening in these other official lines of consciousness. So this is why you have, sometimes you might find, what do they call it, out of place artifacts or things that don't make sense. Like you might find hieroglyphics or things that have similarities to what we might see today as modern technology, but these people had it in their timeline. Or jumps in technology or jumps in creativity with art and music. A lot of times, those people were having bleed-throughs from other realities, and they were pulling this information through the false barrier and illusion of time and space. And whatever they received, they took that and used it to the best of their ability, and that's how they created whatever they came up with. So, just for example, when you have painters, famous painters like Van Gogh and all these other people, and the great musicians and artists, they were simply digging deep, channeling into this information, man. I don't like that word channeling, but you know what I'm trying to say. They were going deep, deep within, and transcending those barriers, illusionary barriers, and pulling out what they could. And a lot of times, got to remember this too, whatever they were pulling out, it wasn't as if, okay, this is what I got, so I'm going to copy the exact same thing. Everything is code, everything is data. So we see things, whatever we see and decode, it's something deeper than whatever that is. So everything is a deeper translation of something even bigger. Even our dream states and our meditation states, whatever we come across, whatever information we get, it's simply being filtered from something that's even bigger than what you're getting. But it has to be broken down into a language that we could understand and comprehend in whatever reality we're in at the time. So right now we're in this physical reality. Whatever deep, profound information you pull from other realms, just say, for example, you might pull out some information and it could be something in regards to portals or something in regards to space and time. But it has to be broken down and channeled through language that we're using here for us to comprehend it. Only the highest minds and the very strong and powerful minds, people in certain levels of consciousness, can really comprehend and see through the camouflage of what's really going on. But even then, it's still tough because we still have to translate it into something we could understand. So, yeah, when these people translate these things, then they basically do their own thing with it, and that's what they come up with. So all great inventions that people have dug deep within and pulled information out of, the original source was coming from something much deeper and greater than what they were getting it from, but it just had to be filtered through an acceptable belief system and acceptable language for them to comprehend it in. Hope I didn't lose anybody there. What was my point of saying all that shit? Where was I going with this, man? I was going somewhere. But anyway, so yeah, back to the summoning. I diverse sometimes and get into some other deep shit. Yeah, so, yeah, the point of that story was the tribe that I had manifested before, they, according to my understanding, and once again, this is my level of understanding from my moment point, and my official line of consciousness, they were summoning me. They summoned me, and I was summoned before this tribe, and they were asking me for assistance. And I was basically giving them some information that, to me, it didn't seem all that profound. It was very simple, but the questions they were asking, I'm guessing from their perspective, seemed like information coming from the gods or from a higher source, which is no different than what we do. We tap into our inner selves, our higher power, the force of all that is, aka God. And when we get information, we think we think we hot shit, like we really tapped into something. But the information that they're telling us, for them, or should I say for us, because a lot of times these forces are simply us, future versions of ourselves that are more evolved at a different level of consciousness. The things they give us are just chicken scratch, for them, because they're coming from this even greater level. There's no levels, but you know what I'm trying to say. They're coming from a point of view where the things they give us, we think, oh man, this is deep. A lot of people fell into this trap. A lot of so-called magicians in the past, they pulled some stuff through, man. They thought they was hot shit, man. It's like, yeah, I got, Enochian power, and John D. and these characters like that. And they did tap into something great. But the forces that gave them that information, they're just giving them, something to work with so that they could take it and do their own thing with it and try to get to that level with it. But the same thing goes with us. So where I'm getting with it, trying to get to it, all of this is, don't be surprised if you, in one of your meditations or one of your trance states, there's going to come a time when you might be summoned yourself, Oh, cool. When I say summoned, I don't mean like, shall I break this down? It's basically all the probable versions of yourself. It could be many things. There's an infinite list of things. I'm just giving you some examples. One, it could be a probable version of yourself in another official line of consciousness. So let's just say if you have Johnny Johnny Bo Jim from, just say, the 18th century, and he's trying to get in contact, he's having a difficult time, then he may sit down, go into a meditation, do some so-called magic ritual, sending up candles and all this shit, and he might contact Johnny Bo Jim from the 21st century. And if those two Johnnies are lined up and they're both, into some deep consciousness exploration, they now have a linking connection point through the illusion of time and space. So, who the hell is Johnny Bo Jim? I don't know, I just made that shit up. But anyway, so, yeah, back to what I was saying, man. Check this out. I have contacted myself on plenty of times. My inner self, I'm already aware it's another portion of myself in another official line of consciousness, which is aware of more things on a deeper level than I can comprehend right now. And I will get to that level at some point. And when I do reach that level, that other version of me will have already become something else. But for right now, from my perspective, in terms of language, you could say that that's a more advanced version of me, coming through the illusion of space and time, helping me out. And the more and more I remember, in keywords, that's what I just said, remember, because it's not really about learning, it's more about, yeah, it is learning, everything's a learning process, but a lot of it is about remembering, man. A lot of people, well, that's the first problem right there, we're not even people. You got to remember that and awaken to your true abilities. And once you start awakening, getting to these deeper levels of understanding, there will come a time when you get to that mature level where those gates will be opened and other versions of yourself might start contacting you. So this has been happening for a while for me, man. I get the call, I call it the call, and it could happen any time. It happens, there's no specific time, like only at nighttime or in the morning. It happens at any moment where I'll start getting the call, and the call is, it's a little bit difficult to explain, but it's more of an intuitive feeling. You just feel something as if some force is pulling you, like kind of like tugging on your soul, tugging on your spirit a little bit. You feel it in your consciousness, you feel it deep within your source of energy. Something is pulling it, like on your coattails and shit, saying, hey man, I need some help over here. And you just feel it deeply, and you say, well, I say, no, I'm like, all right, I'm being summoned right now. Someone needs my assistance. So at that point, I go into a deep meditation, close my eyes, go into my trance state, and every single time I end up before someone who is requesting some assistance in their official timeline of consciousness. And like I said, it could be anything. It could be just a probable version of yourself. It could be a reincarnational self, which is the same thing as a probable version of you. Reincarnation is simply probable versions are other yous that are manifest in other realities. And it could be anything. When I say other yous, we got to remember, other yous doesn't just mean like another me, male version of me only. It could be, but also it could be another me in a female form. We're not, see, that's where it gets deep, man. We're not male or female. We're actually both. And I know that's a trip. Y'all going to be like, oh shit, man, what's going on? But it's true. We're not actually even male or female, man. We are male and female. Male and female, it just simply comes down to individuality, and we decide to manifest into one of these forms, one or the other, because those are the only two options here in physical reality. Sometimes some choose to do both, if possible. That's what you call so-called hermaphrodites and stuff. They want it all, so they come through. But anyway, it's another story. So another version of me could be in female form, manifest, and summon me. That's a probable version. Reincarnation is the same thing as a probable form, probable version of yourself, but it's basically probable versions within a historical time context. So you could say it could be another version of me, but in the 15th century or 5,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago or something. Whereas a probable version would be another version of me, but within, just say, 2014, but in another reality. See what I'm saying here? So, to make it simple, yeah, reincarnation simply means probable versions of you within a historical time context. Now, yeah, so you might get that calling, man. Be aware of it. If a lot of you are doing your training and going into your spirituality and your deep meditations, your deep trance states, your deep dream states, all these titles, they're not even in existence, actually. We just use these titles because that's what's here, but there are no barriers. There are no barriers. Time and illusion are just, time and space are just illusions. That's all they are. So the deeper you get into this, don't take my word for it. The more you get into this and do it for yourself, you just start learning these things by yourself. That's why I keep saying to practice, practice, practice. Do your own thing. Because sitting here listening to me, I could talk for hours and hours, and I do. But that's not going to help you. You need to start doing this for yourself, and then you will start making those connections by yourself and understand what I'm talking about, and at the same time, make discoveries for yourself that I have not discovered yet, probably, or even talk about. And, it's easy to think, like, even me, I'm aware I'm a multi-dimensional being that's manifesting through a three-dimensional reality. So I'm aware of the limitations that I have within this system. I don't like to believe I have limitations, but I do. So right now I'm sitting here in this building. If I jump out this window, I know my ass is going to hit that concrete, and that will be the end of me in this reality. So no matter how powerful I believe I am, and I know I'm powerful, I can't change that reality. That's one of the rules that's kicking off here. And only here also. So, yeah, do your work and be aware that sometimes if you have advanced to a certain level of perfection, meaning as far as you're practicing and you reach a certain degree of power and understanding, you may be summoned at some point by other versions of you who are calling out for you and for assistance. It happens to me all the time. I get called by, like I say, probable versions, historical versions of me and other timelines, and younger versions of myself. And this all brings me up to a story that I'm about to hit y'all with before I get out of here. But this going to be quick because I got a few minutes. When I was about, 6 years old, I believe, very famous story. I went to a relative's house, and a voice spoke to me in the kitchen at this time. I was in this relative's house, and everyone else were in another part of the house, and I could see them. My cousins were in one room, my dad and whoever he was talking to was in another room, and something was pulling me to this kitchen. So I went to the kitchen alone, walked in, and a voice started speaking to me, man. And this voice, at the time, it's a family joke. We call it the talking cup, because there was a cup that had a happy face on it. I may have mentioned this in another video, but the cup had a happy face that basically said, like, I don't know, some shit, don't worry, be happy. I thought the cup was talking to me because it had a smiley face. So the cup was speaking to me, and I can't go into detail about what it was talking about, but I understand now that that voice was me projecting into that timeline, communicating with myself. See, this is how deep this shit gets, man. And I realized that one day by, I can't get into it, it's too heavy to get into, but basically, long story short, I realized that at that timeline, in that situation, that was actually me projecting myself from this timeline into that past timeline, having a conversation with myself to make a marker in that official timeline of consciousness, and to basically set the stage for other shit that came along up to this point now. So yeah, man, it gets real. This stuff gets real deep, man. We are almighty, man. We are so powerful, and it really kills me to hear people not doing their work, not remembering who they are, but killing each other over some fucking World Cup nonsense that's going on because their favorite team lost, and now they gotta kill a woman or a child or anyone and flip a car over and start a riot because somebody lost a game where they're just kicking a damn ball around a soccer field. I'm not bashing on soccer, but I'm simply just saying, if this is what we've come to, then not me, and not a lot of people who watch my videos, but most of the planet, y'all haven't achieved shit in the past couple of centuries or whatever. But anyway, gotta get out of here. This was a quick video. I don't even know what I'm gonna title this. I don't know. I guess I'll call it, I don't know. I'll fucking think of something. But yeah, quick video. Let me know what y'all think. And if anyone has experienced this, being summoned from your other selves and asking you for assistance, yeah. So you have a responsibility. I just want to finish on this. When you are summoned by your other self, other selves, or any other entity, it doesn't have to just be yourselves. It could be simply another entity that's in another reality. But when you're summoned, you kind of have a responsibility not to be an asshole, you know. You don't want to be summoned and scare people or try to do things or pass on harmful or hateful information. It's an honor, it's a privilege to be summoned and to be aware that you're being summoned. It's like if someone comes, knocks on your door and asks for help and they really need it, are you going to slam the door in their face and be an asshole? Or are you going to honestly try to help that person with sincerity? It's the same deal, except on a multi-dimensional level. So, yeah, be kind to those who knock on your multi-dimensional doors, and be aware that the same way that we call for assistance, whether you call it holy guardian angels and all this other nonsense, just remember it's yourselves, and it's simply just you and other portions of yourself that are manifest in other levels of dimensionality. Multi-dimensionality. Alright, peace, love, and harmony as always. I love y'all, and I'll get back at y'all at some point. Later.